What's going on, everybody? In this video we're going to talk about some Bitcoin spot ETF news. We're also going to talk about an Ethereum spot ETF, as well as Bitcoin reaching something very important, the 200 MA getting to all-time highs. We are approaching that. So let's get this started. If you guys get something useful out of this, make sure you like, subscribe, ring the notification bell. Check out the links down below if you want some free stocks or cryptos. And let's start off with Bitcoin. Now, everything I go over will be down below in the description for you if you want to look over it yourself. Bitcoin's 200-day average is approaching a record high, and here's why it matters. Past data shows that the most intense phase of the bull cycle unfolds after the moving average surpasses its previous peak. We're only a few thousand away. An example of this is back in November 2020. 6 months after the third halving, Bitcoin's 200-day SMA rose to its then highest above 10,300. By mid-April of 2021, Bitcoin did a 4.5x to 63,800. And Bitcoin also surged over 2,000% to nearly 20,000 in 12 months after the moving average set new all-time highs in December 2016. Or 5 months after the second halving. And a similar crazy rally unfolded after the average rose to a new peak in November of 2012, which was around the time of the first halving. Now, while we saw all-time highs much earlier this time around, likely due to the spot Bitcoin ETFs, some features of the past cycles have been repeated to a T. Bitcoin's bear market climaxed in November of 2022, and prices rose in following months, which aligns with a historical pattern of bottoming out to start a new rally 15 months ahead of the halving. And I have Bitcoin here. You can see the previous rally back in 2020 and 2021. You can see where the moving average topped out at. We are really approaching it. We're only a couple thousand away. One thing that's important to realize with these moving averages is they are lagging indicators. The 200 MA is basically approaching where Bitcoin's price was back in February of 2024. Even if we just get sideways action here, this 200 MA will eventually flip to new all-time highs. And I want to show you in the past cycle what happened when we broke new all-time highs for the 200 MA. You'll see in the prior halving from the 2020 halving, the 2016 halving, the 200 MA topped out in 2018 right around 10,300 or so. And once we crossed that, back in November 2020, we did go on a huge rally, seemingly right after we saw this flip. I do suspect in the coming weeks we will see the 200 MA at all-time highs. Typically, a rally follows shortly after, as you saw in the last halving cycle. Do you want to see what happened in the 2016 halving cycle? Well, we saw a very similar move. Back in November, December, we did see this moving average finally create new all-time highs, and we did go on to rally once this flipped the previous halvings peak on the 200 MA. Looking at Bitcoin a little zoomed in at its current price here, you'll see that we are facing the 50 MA. I do think a break of the 50 MA will continue to push us higher, potentially to previous all-time highs. Keep an eye on this white line here. This is ascending support. If we break this, we may begin to test previous low. This may be shaping out to be a double bottom. If we find resistance here, we may head back down to this previous support point. Otherwise, I do think a break of the 50 MA will bring us back to the 70,000s. Now, I want to show you BlackRock's Ibit, and they are making history. They're now nearly at 70 days of consistent inflow. One more week and they will rise the ranks, passing 4 other funds. If we see 2 more consistent weeks of daily inflows, Ibit will be among the top 5 in this record. BlackRock's Ibit and Grayscale's Gbtc are so close to 2 billion away from flipping each other. They're at right around 2,100 million. Grayscale's Gbtc assets under management right now is at 20,261 million. This is as of the 22nd. In a couple hours here, we will see an update. They will probably be within 2 billion from flipping. Ibit's current net assets as of the 22nd are 18,155 million. I do suspect once we get our update for the day, they will be within 2 billion from flipping. And I suspect we will see them flip sometime in May. It'll probably be somewhere around 3 weeks from now. I expected this to happen closer to the halving, but recently over the last couple of weeks, we have seen outflows slow down a little bit and inflows slow down a little bit, which has slowed their pace of closing in on each other. But like I said, it is a matter of them flipping probably by sometime in May. Now, I also want to talk about spot Ethereum ETF. We have an expert saying a potential rejection is not a big deal. Jupiter Zhang, the head of research at Hashkey Capital, said that even if these ETFs are rejected, it may merely be a bump in the road rather than a roadblock. And the SEC is expected to make a decision on the spot ETH ETFs within the next month. Remember, the deadline was in May. Now, Eric Balchunas, the analyst at Bloomberg, has reduced the likelihood of approval to 35%. Now, here's something interesting. This crypto investor Jelly, not sure. According to him, there's a price pattern on Ethereum's chart leading up to the recent Bitcoin halving in 2024 very similarly to the one before the halving in May 2020. Now keep in mind, even if the US delays a spot Ethereum ETF, we do have the potential approval in Hong Kong to look forward to. Now I did want to bring up Ethereum on the chart. What I'm watching is this descending wedge pattern, and I'm watching these two potential resistance zones. I do think the market will react to one of these, not sure which. Now here's a long-term trend line that I always keep on Ethereum. This started back in 2020 and Ethereum has held this trend up since. It has utilized this line for a long time as a support. When we got into crypto winter back in 2021, 2022, we did utilize this as support again. We continued to bounce off of this trend. I do think Ethereum has the potential to test this trend in the future, and by future I mean next halving cycle, I mean next bear market. If we do come back to fall sometime in 2026, 2027, Ethereum's next crypto winter low may be somewhere around $25 to $3,000. I'm going to always keep an eye on this trend line. I don't think we bounce off it again for at least a few years. I also want to show you another uptrend that Ethereum is following. This was established back in early October of 2023. It has respected this support line ever since. We do have the potential to come down and test it in May. Potentially if these spot Ethereum ETFs get rejected, maybe we see a little bit of short-term pain. Maybe we do head down and test this support line sometime in May, right around $3,000. Now I want to show you where I think we are based on the last halving cycle. The last Bitcoin halving was right around this zone. We saw the COVID crash. This is back when Ethereum was $200. This was the beginning of the 2020 rally. Right around this area is where I think we are on this cycle. I do think we have a lot of room to run. Ethereum was only about 16% from reaching new all-time highs. Bitcoin has already hit new all-time highs. I do think Ethereum is going to set new all-time highs within the next 3 to 4 months. That means about a 50% move on Ethereum over the next 3 to 4 months. I think it can be done. But let me know what you guys think about my Ethereum price prediction. I think in 3 to 4 months we can see a 50% gain. That gives Ethereum a sufficient timeline if it does get rejected in May and we see a little pullback. By that time we would likely also see Ethereum spot ETFs coming from Hong Kong. That might also bring us some buying pressure. And also, you know, over the next 3 to 4 months I do expect Bitcoin to rise and altcoins to rise along with it. And keep an eye out for Bitcoin and the 200 moving average. We are close to seeing new all-time highs there, and typically a huge rally does follow. But thanks as always for watching, guys. Let me know what altcoins you're buying right now, and of course feel free to let me know what Bitcoin miners you're buying. I do think now is the time to be very bullish on Bitcoin, bullish on the Bitcoin miners, and bullish on altcoins. I do think we're approaching the last few months of being a buyer before it's probably time to start trimming, start selling. But let me also know your thoughts there. Thanks again, guys, and I'll see you next time.